listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle, the GM Shuffle on DraftKings, the crowd is yours. I am Geoff Schwartz, 8 years in the National Football League. That's Marty Hurney, 30 years in NFL front offices, general manager of the Carolina Panthers, EVP of player personnel with the Washington Commanders, also with the Chargers way back, way before I was born, Marty, but with the Chargers as well back in the day. And we're here to talk to you guys, as usual, about the National Football League. It is now December. What do they say? Games in December are the ones to remember, Marty, but the games also matter, September and October, because we are talking about the standings right now in the NFC and the AFC. We'll talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. There are things that have to change with the Eagles offense right now. There's a fire. The offensive coordinator signs popping up outside the stadium right now. Marty, that might have been Photoshopped. I don't know, but it's not going well in Philly. Let's talk about the positive, Marty. Right now, it's December 1st. The Denver Broncos, after winning last night in overtime against the Commanders on a 2-point conversion attempt that failed, when a guy was wide open, on the number one seed in the AFC. The Broncos have won games in the last month by 3, by 3, by 3, by 1. They also had a stretch where they won games by 4, 2, and 1. I don't know what they are, Marty, but they're number one in the AFC right now. That can change tonight as the Patriots play the Giants. The Patriots also 10-2 right now. We have a change in the AFC South. Jacksonville 8-4. They are now the division leaders via tiebreakers. Baltimore Ravens 6-6. The wild card stands Chargers, Colts, Buffalo with the win yesterday against Pittsburgh moves to 8-4. Then it's the Texans, Steelers, Chiefs. Those are probably the end of the realistic playoff teams. Marty, AFC on a whole, what's your takeaway right now with the postseason structure?
Well, I think at the AFC, I think I had 11 teams that have legitimate playoff hopes, right? So now you're drilling into, we thought the AFC North at some point, it looked like the Steelers were going to have their way with it. Not so much, right? The Ravens, the Steelers, and I'm telling you, I know you're going to disagree with me, but I think if you go off me today, the best team right now playing the way they're playing is the Bengals. They're at 4-8. They have an outside chance. Okay, the Steelers and the Ravens play each other twice. They would need those two teams to split and then lose 2 of the 3 remaining games for the Bengals to have a chance if they won 4 of their next 5. But these divisions we thought were locked up are not locked up at all. I mean, the Colts, heck, we're talking about, before we came on, they could not make the playoffs, Geoff, and we both, I think, thought they were, or at least I thought they were pretty certain locked, but they are tied with the Jaguars at 8-4, and they're going to Jacksonville this week. They haven't won there since 2014. So, and that is a very sensitive thing. It was very sensitive to Jim Irsay. In 21, they went down there. Last 2 games, they needed to win one of the last 2. They did not win the one before the final game against Jacksonville. Jacksonville beat them, knocked them out of the playoffs. Carson Wentz was traded 2 months later, and I'm sure there were many other reasons, but that was said to be one of them that they could not complete the assignment down in Jacksonville and get to the playoffs.
Yeah, so my takeaway is the AFC South, which is really fascinating to me because the Colts started so fast, right? Remember, Shane Steichen, Coach of the Year. Daniel Jones was the mistake made to not keep him at any other places he'd been. Jonathan Taylor's MVP odds shot way up, right? We talked about, I got him 60-1. It got down to, I think, 20, 15, 10-1, something like that. And right now, according to DraftKings, to miss the playoffs is plus 235 for the Colts. To make the playoffs is minus 300. And they are trending in the wrong direction. We talked all year about even their fast start. Their defense, we agreed, wasn't great, right? And now they've lost 3 of the last 4. Lost to Pittsburgh, beat the Falcons, lost to Kansas City, lost to the Texans. Daniel Jones right now has a fractured leg, Marty. I don't know how he's playing. It doesn't make any sense to me. How can you play on a leg like that? How can you be mobile? How can you even just simply, and I've had that fracture before. How can you just day-to-day function in practice? How do you have your footwork correct? It just seems like not the best situation, but they don't have a backup, right? So you mentioned
He
Jacksonville,
he didn't
Seattle.
yeah, he didn't move well. He didn't move well watching him practice. I mean, you can tell that thing is,
Yeah.
really hurting him, but, and when you talk about MVP, Geoff, I wish they'd define it more because Jonathan Taylor, to me, as far as being most valuable player to his team, has gotta be in the conversation. I mean, they're 7-0 in games he rushes for over 100. They're 1-4 in games that he does not. So, he directly affects the
Yeah.
outcomes, even more than Daniel Jones, really.
Well, so I think there should be two separate awards, maybe. And we sort of have Offensive Player of the Year, but we have like MVP and then maybe most outstanding player who's a quarterback. Like those should be maybe like two separate awards. Like here's the best quarterback award, which we do. We have the All Pro, right? First team All Pro is essentially the quarterback MVP award, right? Then we have the MVP award. I mean, I can make the case that like Lane Johnson for Philly, like their offensive line struggled this year, but even more with Lane being out, they can do anything. Well, I mean, there's plenty of different players, I think, around the NFL that encompass that. But you're right about Jonathan Taylor. When the run game isn't as good, which I thought the Colts could really hamper, the Texans could hamper the run game, Daniel Jones has not been as good. And so right now, you look at that division, as we mentioned, Jacksonville now takes over the top spot. They're 8-4. The Colts are next. Here come the Texans, 7-5, 4 straight wins now. They do get the Chiefs this week on Sunday Night Football. And then it's Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Colts. Those are 3 straight games, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers. They will be, if not a favorite, close to a favorite against the Chargers. Right now, Justin Herbert with a broken hand, I believe. We'll see how long he's out for. But the Chargers are the Chargers. They have, they have weaknesses, and then that Texans defensive line can really get after anyone. Would it be worth looking at a Texans to win the division price right now? Do you just expect Jacksonville to continue to win at this level?
Oh, no, I think most certainly the Texans are worth a play. I mean, again, we talked about what's happened, Jaguars, Colts, and Jacksonville, but the Jaguars and the Colts played twice. And if you look at the Jaguars' schedule, Colts, Jets, at the Broncos, at the Colts, the Titans. So it's not an extremely hard finish, but I think the Texans are probably playing the best of all 3 teams. If they could somehow find a way to beat the Chiefs this week at Kansas City, which will be very tough, but they have the Cardinals, Raiders at home, at the Chargers, and Colts at home. So 3 of their last 5 are at home. They're one of the hottest teams in the league right now, and their defense certainly can't be matched by anybody except for Cleveland. So think DeMeco Ryans is a great coach. Only thing I will say about the Jaguars is it seems like Liam Cohen is really getting a connection with this team. They're responding to him. He's finding ways to win. I'm still out. We can talk about their offense and the quarterback and all these things, but they're winning games, Geoff, and he's got them believing, and that's one of the biggest, most important things you can look for in December. There's reasons why certain coaches have winning records in December, and that's why.
Well, the thing about Jacksonville, so the last 5 games they played, they beat the Chargers, they beat the Raiders, the Cardinals, and the Titans, and they lost the Texans. I mean, you only play who's on your schedule, Marty. That absolutely is part of the discussion. But I just don't know how real they are with that schedule. It might not matter because, as you mentioned, they get the Colts twice. That they control their own destiny. Whereas Houston right now to win the division is about plus 300, plus 310 on DraftKings right now. So if you think Houston has a chance to win a division, you can still get in at plus 310. Looking at the 1 seed, Marty, back to the very top of this AFC, Denver 10-2, New England 10-2. If you just pick one of those teams to win the AFC, which one would it be? I have mine. I feel very strongly about this. I'll let you go first here. Which one now, of course, is before New England plays tonight against the Giants, as they are nearly a little touchdown or more favorite here. But what do you think about New England or Denver? Which one would you take?
Right now, just looking at the schedules, I got to take New England. I mean, they got the Giants. They do have the Bills, but then at the Ravens, at the Jets, the Dolphins. I just think that I like what Denver is doing, and they're winning a lot of close games, which I think is how good teams become good teams in this league. I mean, we can say the same thing about Chicago Bears, right? Look how many close games they've won, but that's how games are won and lost in this league. And some teams know they're going to win. Some teams think they're going to win. The Bears and the Broncos right now know they're going to win going to the last 5 minutes. But looking at the Patriots schedule, I like them to be the number 1 seed.
So I like the Broncos to win the AFC at the moment. I might change my mind. You're always open to change your opinion with new information, Marty, but you look at the way they're playing, and look, I know they've won close games. I did sort of mockingly, sarcastically talk about that to start the show here, but you look at the components that you need to win in the postseason, and they have them, okay? They have a defense, right? Can you get stops? Can you rush the passer? Check mark. Do you have a good offensive line? They do. Check mark. Now, the run game isn't as great as the offensive line is, which is a little concerning, right? Now, you lost Dobbins. You have Harvey, who I think is not really ready, Marty, to be that feature running back yet. He's just not built to be that guy. He might be, but not yet. They don't, and again, the backups aren't really, maybe McLaughlin, we had 25 yards last night. Maybe he's the guy for the future. The question I have for Denver, and by the way, the coaching staff, right? Sean Payne's done that before. They were in the playoffs last season. It didn't go well, but they were. New England was not, right? Like, this iteration of New England hasn't been there before. If they can just get like 10 to 15% better Bo Nix in the postseason, Marty, that's a sweet spot for them. And, that's the question, right? Can you get that Bo Nix? You win that road playoff game at New England to go through by Denver. To me is the best team right now in the AFC. Am I crazy for saying that?
No, you're not crazy for saying that. Matter of fact, when I was talking about the Patriots, I could tell by looking at your face you weren't going to come back and take Denver. But no, not at all. I just think, but everything you said about Denver, except for the fact of being in the playoffs last year, you can say about the Patriots. I think these are two really well-coached, well-rounded teams.
Absolutely.
I just like the Patriots right now because I just think Drake May's playing better than Bo Nix.
Well, he's a better quarterback. I just don't know if the team is quite as good. Vrabel right now lead to be coach of the year, which seems very likely for him the way that things are going, especially with, you mentioned, the schedule pans out for them to be this team that is, 14-3, 13-4, and they're sitting with that onesie, which would get Vrabel that award. Let's finish up with the AFC North next, and we'll hit the NFC. GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back on the GM Shuffle. Let's get to the AFC North here, Marty. Baltimore 6-6, Pittsburgh 6-6, Cincinnati 4-8, and the Browns. Look, they're not trying to lose games, but they play like they're trying to lose games. They're 3-9 at the moment. A rough one against the 49ers. Well, let's talk about the top quickly, Marty. What is wrong with the Ravens? Like, I don't really have a great reason why they're bad, but they're not playing as well as we thought they would, even though they had won 5 in a row before they lost the Bengals, but it was a close win against the Browns, close win against the Jets. And then against the Bengals on Thursday night, it was very, very bad, Marty. What do you make right now, the Baltimore Ravens?
Lamar Jackson just hasn't looked comfortable to me, Geoff. He and really for most of the season after that Buffalo loss, he just hasn't looked comfortable to me. And the other night he was 17 of 32, 246, but threw an interception, lost 2 fumbles. They just I just think that the Ravens look like they've never been in sync so far this season.
So what are you talking about in the building today to get that team back in sync? Because you're right. Look, the injuries played a big role in their early season, slide they had, right? They lost 5 of the first 6 games they played this year. Then Lamar came back and it looked a lot better. But then the last couple of weeks, as I mentioned, offensively just hasn't looked as crisp. The offensive line has not been as good as in previous years, which certainly could play a role in the lack of success. But I really do think the offense, and one of the things that made it so special was Lamar's ability to run the football, Marty, and it really did a job on making sure defense had to spend extra time preparing for that part of Baltimore's game plan. But also, you bust out a long run on a 2nd and 1 it's a valuable play for an offense to have. They don't really have that this year because Lamar's not running as much. They're relying more on just Derrick Henry to be the guy. It's just not working as well. Do you see that the same way as I do?
I do, and they're 11th, 12th in the league in rushing attempts, and they can't be that way. They have to be in the top 10 with Derrick Henry, and obviously Lamar always gave him that threat, and that opens up the passing game, Geoff. When you have that threat of the quarterback getting outside and running, and he just hasn't done that this year. They haven't given the ball, I don't think, as much to Derrick Henry as they should, and they're just missing something. They're missing a component, a confidence on offense that they've had in the past. So while they're starting to play better and maybe they can come on and win the division and go deep in the playoffs, but right now it's still just it appears to me that something is just not in sync like it's been with the Baltimore offense.
Is that an indictment of Lamar Jackson? Because I feel like if we made the same comments about Josh Allen or Mahomes, we would put the blame on those quarterbacks to say, hey, man, if things aren't working well in the run game, like it's up to the quarterback to make up the difference. Is it fair to put that on Lamar, or is it fair to just say it's a whole offensive structure problem? Because look, we're going to have an Eagles soon. Like, we're going to put that on Jalen Hurts, right? So is it fair to put some of that on Lamar right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of it is he has not been as accurate, right? He hasn't been as mobile, and you don't see the dynamic plays. But I also think it's connected to the entire offense, and something is just not in sync in their offensive line. That they've had some injuries and haven't had the best protection. But there's just not that combination of run, pass, that triple threat that they've had in the past. It's not there right now, and you can't put that all on Lamar Jackson. You can put some of it on him because he has not played as well this year. Even throwing, his accuracy is not as good, but there just seems to be something that's not in sync there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, time to have the discussion, Marty. The time has come for Pittsburgh to clean house with everybody. It's now that time. Another loss last night, and Pittsburgh right now in their last 17 games, they're 6-11. 6-11. The last 4 weeks, their offense is 26th in EPA per play, 29th in EPA per dropback. They clearly are not playing the way they should on defense. Their defense they got gas. The screenshots that people are sharing of the Bills just spamming duo over and over again, and they have no idea how to stop it. TJ Watt is non-existent right now. We got, players calling out Josh Allen for kneeing them and whatnot. It's just a lot of noise, man. It's time. Whatever Tomlin is trying to preach in that locker room, I think is no longer has the same sort of oomph and power. And sometimes you just run the end of the course. Andy Reid, right? He just was over in Philly. You just over. It just becomes, the message becomes dull and no one buys in anymore. And you need new voices, new ideas, new things. And it's time, Marty. It's time for Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan to just part ways. And maybe they keep the GM, maybe they don't. But I think it's run its course. How many years are you going to run this same thing back, Marty, where you're barely competitive, you're barely 500. Just say you won 9 games and we're 500 again. I don't like it. I think Pittsburgh is a franchise that's won so much and had so much winning over the years. They have got to say no more. It's done. Our standards should be better than this. It's time to move on.
You sound like a lot of friends I have that are Steelers fans, because there is a lot of frustration there. But I'll say to you what I'd say to them, 12 playoff appearances, 7 division titles, 3 AFC championship game appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win. I mean, what more do you want from a head coach? Now, granted, I do believe that there is kind of a life cycle as far as whether you're general manager, coaching, whatever it is. I mean, when you're a head coach and you have to stand up in front of those players every day, every week, I mean, you can only have so many new messages. So it does get to be kind of the same thing you're saying to guys. And I do think there's got to be a change now and then. And could this be the time the Steelers have to do it? I couldn't disagree with you a lot there. I do think that when Kevin Colbert left, they lost one of the best general managers in the league. He wasn't a guy that would get in front of the cameras much. People didn't really know him as well, but he was a critical part where he and Tomlin could talk about personnel, disagree with personnel, and make the right decision. I don't think that dynamic is there right now, and I think that's something the Steelers are missing. But I think they have to look at the whole organization right now.
Well, look, okay. Who is in charge at the very end of the quarterback? Like who's making that decision? Is that Tomlin or is that the general manager? Like who's in charge of bringing these quarterbacks and never really finding an answer?
Well, again, and this is what, so if you have a general manager, if Kevin Colbert was there with Mike Tomlin, there would have been discussions, maybe disagreement. Maybe it's bring Aaron Rodgers in, but we got to draft a quarterback high and have a young guy to start getting ready. But it would have been it would have been the general manager's decision of who to sign. But the head coach is always involved, right? He's always involved. You have to take his opinion under consideration. But they had the perfect scenario with Ben Roethlisberger. The guy fit. Ben, big physical quarterback, much like Josh Allen. Fit Pittsburgh. They had great runs with him. But now the quarterback position hasn't been addressed. And if you don't address it, then you're eventually going to start talking about changing the head coach. But I just think there's a dynamic there that used to be there in Pittsburgh that they have to rediscover.
Well, they made their team to be physical, and that's not what they are anymore. That's number one, Marty, right? Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the ones I played against, the ones I know that you were, in the booth and you watched it, like that was what their calling card was. You knew when you played them, you were going to get punched in the mouth, and that's no longer the case in Pittsburgh. And they have to figure out how to get back to that. And look, if that's Mike Tomlin staying and finding a new general manager, maybe that's it. But all the moves they've made in the last 2 years have really not worked out. And not gotten them any closer to what they want to be as a team. You like what you're hearing here on the GM Shuffle? There's even more VSiN Pro betting, splits, power rank, sharp analysis. All for $9.99 your first month. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe and check out all the subscription options. Marty, let's end our discussion on the AFC here with the Kansas City Chiefs, who lost on Thursday to the Cowboys. Marty, I want to read you this stat very quickly. In the last 8 games, Patrick Mahomes has led the offense on a comeback drive in the fourth quarter to take the lead. They have lost 3 of those games. So 3 times this year, he's led the team back in the fourth quarter to take the lead, and they have eventually lost the game. It happened on Thursday, right? They go up 21-20. The Chiefs defense allows a touchdown immediately, then allows a field goal, and the game is over. It took Tom Brady 209 games for that to happen the third time. There just is something missing in Kansas City right now. They're not playing complete football. They're not playing complementary football. It's just not going well this season. And again, analytically, Marty, they're right there. Like, they're as good as anyone else in the NFL. It's just not happening this season for them. And DraftKings just took this down because I just had this up a minute ago. But right now, the Chiefs to miss the playoffs is the slight favorite right now. They have got to run the table, man. Like, they have to get to 11 wins probably to firmly secure their place. They have to hope, by the way, that Jacksonville wins the South to help them with a tiebreaker here. But it's Texans with 3 offensive linemen probably out. Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders, Marty. I think I told you we could go ahead and expect the Chiefs to make the playoffs. I don't expect it now.
The Chiefs have had a brutal schedule, Geoff, and not as much who they play as when they played them. And they go into Dallas on Thanksgiving, and Dallas was getting hot. And Dallas is one of the hottest teams in the league right now, in my opinion. Their defense is playing much better. The moves they made, Quentin Williams, Mario Overshown coming back, the moves they've made in the last few weeks defensively with trades and guys from injury coming back, they're a pretty good football team right now. So I think Kansas City's still a really good team. I personally would like to see them make the playoffs because they are a very good team, and I think they're one of the top 7 or 8 best teams in the AFC. But it's been tough sledding because they've had a brutal schedule, Geoff, a brutal schedule.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is obviously that's what you get when you first play schedule. I love the phrase that, like, they're the most dangerous team if they get in. Well, if they were good enough, they get in. Like, that was the thing with the Bengals last year. No one wants to play the Bengals in the postseason. They're half a game short of the postseason. Well, why are they half a game short of the postseason? Like, if they're that good, they wouldn't be half a game short. No one play the game. I agree. No one want to play the Chiefs. But guess what? You won't have to because they're not making the playoffs. So that's not a worry for the rest of the NFL the way they're playing right now. So, just like if you must win a game, you must not be very good. The Chiefs have 5 must-win games coming up here down the stretch. We'll transition to the NFC right now. The Chicago Bears are the current 1 seed in the NFC. We'll talk about them next. GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. We'll have our best bets for the week in just a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Marty has one on Thursday Night Football. I will have a couple for you guys as well as we look forward to next week. But we have to recap what we just saw this past weekend. Let's get to the NFC here, Marty. The top of the NFC is such. Chicago Bears 9-3. They have the 1 seed. The Rams 9-3 after loss to the Panthers. Philly 8-4. Tampa Bay 7-5. Then Seattle, Green Bay, San Francisco. Behind them are the Lions, Cowboys, and Panthers. Those are the 10 teams that can make the playoffs in the NFC. Obviously, we should go right to the top, man. Look, the Bears finally got on the plus side of the point differential, which is great. But I'll tell you what, man, that was as validating as a win you can have, Marty, when they beat Philadelphia on Friday. Think about where this team was 2 months ago, kind of squeaking by. Caleb Williams up and down. The offensive line hadn't really played great yet, even though they brought those guys in. Defensively, it wasn't really clicking yet. And this is now what I've told people. You've said this. I've said this. 8 to 12 weeks, man. That's what it takes for a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, a new head coach, a new quarterback. When they start working together, it takes 8 to 12 weeks, Marty, to start really seeing what this is about. And this is right the point where you start seeing the massive improvement in success rate if you are on the right path. And it feels very much like the Bears are finally hitting. Now, was Caleb Williams perfect? No. The defense is getting better. They rushed for 1 billion yards. Like, that was the thing, Marty. They out-physicaled the Eagles, right? They had 200-yard rushers. They rushed for the most yards they've had in a game since what? Walter Payton was playing for the Bears?
1985.
The physicality of what they did to Philly is so impressive to me. We'll talk about Philly in a second here, but I don't know how real they are, Marty. Like, I don't think they're making a deep postseason run, but the fact is Ben Johnson, everyone's bought in. They're winning games. And if you're a Bears fan, you have to be so excited about the future of this team with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams.
I agree. And you know what, Geoff? Who knows how far they can go? I mean, everybody, Ben Johnson, we're talking about Caleb Williams. We talk about the passing game. This running game, as you mentioned, has just been very consistent and very dominant. They've run the ball more than anybody in the league, 374 times, 4.9 yards per carry is like the third best in the league. An extremely balanced offense, which if you're going to help a young quarterback, run the ball. And I think that Ben Johnson has just impressed me on so many levels this year. And number one is, we knew he was a very good offensive coordinator. I think he's one of the best offense coordinators in the league. But head coaching wise, you always heard he was kind of a guy that was in the office and doing the offense coordinator stuff. And you wondered if he could be that head coach in front of the room. There's no question he can be that head coach in front of the room. You saw what he did after the game. The players love him. Of course, winning helps that a lot, but he's just done a fantastic job with this team. And this offense is hard to stop because you can't just take one aspect out of it and shut it down. I think it's kind of a 3-pronged approach with Caleb Williams' mobility. So I think the Bears are a very good team, and they're going to be a factor in the playoffs.
They're not going to be non-factor, but I don't know how good they are to win many postseason games, but they're playing well. You mentioned something that I want to touch on quickly. So some of the criticism of Ben Johnson and some of the reasoning about why he didn't take a job last year was that he wasn't ready to be in front of a room yet, right? He wasn't ready to be the head coach, wasn't ready to lead. Was there any viability to that? I mean, and maybe he knew himself. He waited, right? I think he was a finalist for Commander's job before they hired Dan Quinn, and he maybe didn't want that opportunity and was waiting for the right moment. But very clearly, that's not an issue now, even if it was 2 years ago.
No, what it is, Geoff, it's a reminder that offense coordinator, defense coordinator, and a head coach are two separate jobs, right? So as an offense coordinator, you can go in your office. You've known offense coordinators, you don't
Yeah.
see them a ton in front of the room,
No.
right? Except when they're taught the offense, they're in their office,
Installer,
they're
yeah.
getting the game plan, they're meeting with coaches. It's two different responsibilities. He has come into the head coaching job and just flourished with all the new responsibilities. He's done a phenomenal job, and there's no reason to think that it's going to change.
Yeah. The Rams right now 9-3, lose the Panthers. I still think they're the best team in the NFL. I don't know what yesterday was. It just defensively didn't play very well. Bryce Young did make some nice plays. That last touchdown to McMillan was great. They forced 3 turnovers. Look, you get a pick 6. You win a lot of games with a pick 6. Matt Stafford fumbled there at the very end. I don't change my opinion on the Rams. It's hard to win National Football League games. It was cold and raining and a little windy yesterday in Charlotte. So I don't make much of this. Marty, have you changed your opinion much on the Rams here?
I have, and I still think they're a top team. Although, I think that we're starting to learn how competitive both conferences are right now. But that the interception, the pick 6 yesterday, I think that was their first interception, right? The pick 6.
I think it was,
But
yeah. No, yeah, no. I think they had a red zone turnover first at Stafford.
first, right?
Yeah,
So
the pick six, I think.
he goes into the game with 27 touchdown passes without interception, throws another one, 28, and then he proceeds to throw 2, one of which is a pick 6. So it just kind of shows you how unpredictable this game is.
Oh, yeah.
The Panthers did a tremendous job. Again, the running back, the two-headed running back system works extremely well for them. Bryce Young is starting to really gain the confidence of Dave Canales. I think late in games, he had 2 huge plays. And the Panthers, I can't figure them out. They're up and down. Every time I like them, they lose. Every time I don't like them, they win. But
Yeah.
they're really starting to show weekly improvement. And do they have a chance? Can they make it in?
So the last 6 games of the Panthers, they lose 40-9 to the Bills. They beat the Packers in Green Bay. They lose by 10 to the Saints. Beat the Falcons by 3. Lose the Niners on Monday Night Football. Don't look terribly competitive, and then beat the Rams at home. They have the Saints coming up, and they play the Bucs twice. So if you think about division odds here, they're off this week. They get the Saints, Bucs, Seahawks at home, and then they're at Tampa Bay. Last game of the season. Tampa Bay right now is in the lead of that division, but obviously with the 2 games left, the Panthers can certainly take control of that division. Let's get to Philly now, Marty. It's not good. I don't know the way to put it. Offensively, it hasn't been good for a month now, and we talked about Ben Johnson, where you saw the growth and improvement into the back half of the season and now into the last quarter of the season, where new offense coordinator, everything's lining up correctly. It feels like the opposite's happened in Philly, Marty, where very clearly there's a disconnect between coordinator, quarterback, in what they want to get done offensively. I don't think Hurts is playing terribly well. I mean, there were throws against Chicago where 2 guys were in the same place. The offensive line is quite as good this year. Lane Johnson's hurt. Jurgens beat up. Dickerson's been beat up. They're not running the ball very well. And then they got pushed around on defense, which really isn't the point of this discussion, but just worth noting the Bears did push them around there. So what do you see from Philly right now offensively that is most concerning?
I don't think well, there's a couple things. One, I think there's some guys playing hurt that offensive line wise, Barkley with the groin. But they are out of sync, looking for a formula here. I mean, they're 4 of 12 on third down against the Bears, which you don't think that an Eagles offense is going to do that. I think that I don't understand why Barkley's not getting the ball more. I think that good running backs and good running games, although, the nature of the running game has changed over the last 10 years in this league. But Geoff, when you played, the more you run the ball, the better you get, right? The more you give a back like Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry the ball, the more he helps wear down the defense. And offensive lines love that. The Bears aren't doing that. And they did get the ball to A.J. Brown a lot the other day in the game, and I think he had 10 catches, but they're not the balanced attack, and they aren't getting chunks of plays like they have in the past. But I think you have to go back and look at this running game and see why it doesn't work and why you're not giving Barkley more touches.
Listen, I mean, they're not running the ball well. Like, I think when you're not running the ball well, the OC just defaults to the pass, but also just not passing the ball well. I think all the criticism of Jalen Hurts is sort of coming to fruition right now where, is he a good enough quarterback to carry you through multiple stretches of a season when the running game isn't as good? I mean, like, that is the concern, right? Where, in a given game, the Super Bowl, like, they didn't run the ball well, but he was great. Now, can you do that for months straight? It feels like that's not where they're at right now in Philly. I don't know at this time of year how you get that confidence back. It takes a really strong-willed organization and a force of belief to make it happen. And they just keep getting worse. They're at the Chargers now, who, again, might not have Herbert. They play the Raiders. That could be two straight get-right weeks, and they got the Commanders twice, and then Bill sandwich in between. I mean, the schedule sets up where they can probably still win the division, but this feels like 2023 all over again, Marty, where you just fade really fast down the stretch as the offense really doesn't know their identity.
Well, you don't flip a switch. We both know that. You don't flip a switch. And the whole thing about running the ball is having patience, right? Because maybe you're not going to run the ball good in the first half, but in the second half, all of a sudden you clip off a couple of chunk plays and the running game starts going and it helps the passing game. It just doesn't look right now like Philadelphia has an offensive plan that everybody agrees with. And if things keep going this way and they don't go right, I think they'll start really looking at the offense after the season and seeing what they need to do.
Nick Sirianni is an offensive coach. He has to figure this out. It's that simple. You're the head coach. Your specialty is offense, whether or not you're great at it. This is your baby. You're an offensive coach. Nick Sirianni has to figure this out. If it's just the other way around, a defensive head coach, I say the same thing about a defensive head coach. I've said it all along. If you have a specialty that is yours, offense or defense, you're the head coach. Why are we hiring you and why are we paying you if you can't fix that side of the ball? That's your bread and butter. So Nick Sirianni, I know he said he won't, in the press conference after the game, he won't change play calling. Fine. You need to step in and make this better, Nick. That's your job as the head coach of the Eagles. Let's talk about more in the NFC. We'll do that next.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
All right, back on the GM Shuffle. We have our best bets here in a few minutes. Marty has Thursday Night Football. I have one for later in the week. Let's talk about the wild card in the NFC, but also really maybe the NFC North here, because I think the NFC North might get a couple teams in here in the wild card. As we mentioned earlier, the Bears are top dog right now. Then the Packers, then the Lions. The Vikings are out of it. Lions 2 games back. Packers just a half game back right now. They have that tie that really might end up hurting them in the end there with their win percentage. Green Bay beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. The Lions Marty, they're, what's the best way to put it? They're like, 20% worse than last year? 12% worse than last season? They're just not as good. They're not as good. Right. There's many reasons for that. They're injured on offense. Doesn't help. Defensively, I don't know how many playmakers that team really has. I know last year it was their defensive performance was masked by the injuries they had. And we just pointed to injuries, but I don't know how many difference makers they have. No Laporta, no St. Brown that game. Goff regressed a little bit. Their window feels like it closed a little bit. And Ben Johnson's not there anymore. As much as I want to give credit and half to Dan Campbell, it does feel like they're starting to miss Ben Johnson a lot here in that window. I think Detroit has really started to close now. How about this? They announced last week that Frank Ragnow was coming back, Marty, their center,
Right.
retirement. Then announced that he had a grade 3 hamstring tear upon physical. How do you show up to the facility with a grade 3? So there's grades for tears. One is, a little tear, probably play through it. 2 is a medium tear, you're out a couple weeks. And 3 is supposed to be muscle off the bone, right? Like grade 3 tear is a complete tear. How do you show up to the facility if you're Frank Ragnow with a complete tear in your hamstring?
Because he's probably played with it, right? And thinks he can play with it.
Well,
I mean,
wouldn't that show in the exit physical when he retired? Like, would that show like on when they cut him? Like, wouldn't that have shown something on his physical? Or wouldn't he have seen that trying to get ready to play?
It depends how far they go on the exit physical. If he would have just checked off and said he was okay, you don't have to go and do those physicals and take those tests.
Yes.
I just say it because we both know Frank Ragnow is one of the toughest guys I came across in over 30 years. And I mean, he loves the game. And obviously he wanted to come back and get back in and play. It didn't work out that way, but boy, I loved him coming out. He was one of those guys those linemen that you just lived to see. And I was disappointed he couldn't come back because I wanted to see him play again. But if he's that hurt, maybe he shouldn't.
I mean, he's clearly not because he's doing hamstring tear. Okay, the Packers, man? They just kind of confound me. I don't know. I know Jordan Love played really well. That fourth down was, I surprised they went for it, but they did, and it closed the game out. Great catch by, I believe it was Wicks there at the end. Michael Parsons playing a lot better lately. He had 2.5 sacks in this game. He's really picking up. Are the Packers a legitimate threat, you think, to win the NFC conference?
Yeah, I mean, I thought so at the beginning of the season, and then I went in that stretch and I said, what's wrong? I can't figure them out. Now Jordan Love has played Detroit twice this year and had really 2 good games, 6 touchdowns, no turnovers. I think he wasn't sacked in the 2 wins against the Lions. So is this a case of Jordan Love playing well against the team that he's basically got their number and has played well against? Or is he going to continue to do this? I think that he started his foot around. Dontavian Wicks had some really good catches. You get the feeling that the Packers might be one of those teams to heat up at the right time. I feel bad because I've been a ping pong ball back and forth on them, but they certainly played well the other day.
I've been the same thing where every week I'm like, I've not bought them for the most part, but when you look at some of their wins, they definitely can play with the entirety of the NFC. Marty, the Cowboys are 6-5-1. They're sitting at the 9 seed right now. They've won 3 in a row: Raiders, Eagles, Chiefs, and they have the Lions Thursday night, the Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants. They most likely have to win 4 of those games to at least give them some opportunity to make the postseason. But the one thing I want to reiterate here is something that we hear a lot this time of year when you want to be playing your best ball now. Absolutely true, right? You absolutely do. And it feels like the Cowboys are doing that. But the only way to play your best ball in the postseason is not to lose games earlier in the season you shouldn't lose. And that's where they're at right now. They lost the Panthers, right? Exactly. They lost the Cardinals. Exactly. They lost the Bears early before the Bears figure it out. And those losses now are preventing them from getting the postseason. So it's great they're playing better now, but they're not making the playoffs at the moment. Like, they're just not. They have a lot of work to do to make this up with no margin of error. So I always push back when people say that, you don't want to play the Cowboys in the postseason. They're not getting the postseason, Marty. Like, it's great to be playing your best ball now, but when people say all the time, well, it doesn't matter what happens during the year, it does. If you lose those games, you'll give yourself an opportunity. We say that a lot with the Chiefs and the Patriots, like, they're 2-2 in September, and there was always the thing with the Patriots, right, Marty? Their worst play was in September, but they were making the playoffs every year. The Cowboys are now the outside looking in because they didn't win those games during the season. So are the Cowboys a playoff team? By the way, right now, yes on DraftKings is plus 320. No is minus 425 to make the postseason, Marty.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you say, Geoff, but really, them more than any other team, we can at least point to why they're playing better, right? They've gotten better personnel wise. I mean, everybody loves to give Jerry Jones a hard time, but they have gotten better personnel wise with the trades they made at the trade deadline, with DeMario Overshown coming back. They've got speed on that defensive side of the ball. And the reason they didn't win those games early wasn't because of the offense. They've been playing great all year. It was because the defense couldn't stop anybody. Now they can. So I think that's what's got me excited is it's not just like, oh, they're playing better. No, they made the personnel improvements that they needed to make to play better. And, a guy like Quentin Williams just excites me because I've always thought that pass rush from the inside, get the guy off the spot. When you're playing a team like Detroit, think getting Jared Goff off the spot helps? Yes, because he can't move really in the short areas. So I think that I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about the Cowboys right now because of the way they were playing it and the why they are playing better.
Yeah. Out of all things that happened, I'll tell you something that did not happen. Jerry Jones said that he called the Jets and offered them Micah Parsons and a first-round pick for Quinn Williams, Marty. Out of all things that happened, that certainly did not. And he claimed the Jets didn't have the salary cap space to make that trade. If you're offering Micah Parsons and a first-round pick, the Jets will find their cap space for that trade. Don't get me wrong. Like, that was a ludicrous thing that, you met Jerry, right? Like, something good happens and then he just has to make it weirder and by saying something that's even like, Jerry, just take the L. I mean, just take the win. Just take the win. I got Quinn Williams, Overshown's back. Like, I brought in Schottenheimer. Like, the Pickens trade was great. It's going well for him to go out and just say something so crazy that never actually happened. Now we're talking about that instead of talking about the actual good that's happening. And I mentioned this again. I've said it many times, Marty. When Dak Prescott has been healthy, he has been good. How good is he? Yes. There's other shows to debate that, but make no mistake, when he has been good, when he has played, he has been good. And right now, the Cowboys' offense is winning. And they took care of business against Kansas City in the trenches. They picked up all the pressures. They did a great job. It was very impressive to watch them beat Kansas City this past Thursday. All right, Marty, time for our best bets presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Thursday Night Football is tonight. Monday Night Football is tonight. Patriots favored by 7.5. We'll have nothing for this game. The Giants are kind of lifeless right now. I'm going to stay away from this one, but I know you have a best bet here for Thursday night.
Well, I like Thursday, and again, it's just to get continuation off our discussion. I like Dallas +3. And listen, I think Detroit's a really good team that's hard to beat at home. So I have a little reluctancy here, but I just think that Dallas is starting to click on all cylinders, and they have a lot of talent. What I mentioned about Quinn Williams, the reason, obviously, I was kind of researching this game, but if they can get pass rush up the middle and get Jared Goff to have to move off the spot and use his feet, I think that they're going to make it a long day for the Lions. Now, what you have to do, you play the Lions, you got to stop Jahmyr Gibbs. Whether they can do that or not, I don't know, but he's just a beast and can control the game. But to me, they're coming in saying we got to take Gibbs out of the game, make Goff move off the spot and throw the ball. I think offensively, listen, they're going to score points. We know they're going to score probably over 30 points, and it would probably be a high-scoring game, but I just like them getting 3 points going into Detroit right now.
I understand the way they're playing, the way the Lions are playing, sort of backsliding, and one team's getting hot. I totally understand. Obviously, this isn't a short week for anybody because they play on Thursdays. They got a full week of game prep. Marty, my best bet is the under in Sunday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Texans. As we speak right now, the Chiefs' left tackle is going to be out in Simmons. Trey Smith, the right guard, has not played. And Taylor has also an upper body injury that is not that serious, but who knows if he plays. If they're down 3 starters on the offensive line against Houston, that's bad news, Marty. I think that's just they're not going to score many points. On the flip side, the Chiefs can't rush the passer, but the Texans offensive line is not great. This game is outdoors at night, not a spot I like the Dome Texans to be in. They have not played well at Arrowhead with Stroud as well. I think it's a low-scoring game, Marty, 17-13, something like that. Hopefully the Chiefs prevail, but I don't trust them at the moment. But I see a low-scoring game on Sunday night, so that'll be fun to watch as well. As usual, look, all these wagers presented by DraftKings. Go find them. They have them all up for this week. Some divisional matchups in the NFC North between the Bears and Packers will be fun to watch as well. A big one maybe in the AFC wildcard picture is the Dolphins have won a bunch of games in a row. They think of the Jets. That's worth talking about as well. We'll talk about all these games for you guys as usual on Thursday, Marty. You can rate, review, subscribe. That really helps us out. It is free to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. Helps the program out a lot. If you like the show, if you don't like the show, leave us a review as well. Share with your friends and family. We'll be back on Thursday for our preview show for a full week of the National Football League. Marty Hurney, I'm Geoff Schwartz. Take care, guys. Talk to you guys on Thursday.